Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the first episode ever of 9 Hours, 9 Persons and 9 Doors. This is the Nintendo DS version and I'm playing it through a emulator so you can watch me play it. So let's begin. I'm excited. Oh, never played this before. Okay, so da 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 da. Finish taping. Yes. Let's begin. Let's go! Fictitious. They're fictitious. Come on, let's go. Ooh. What's going on? Nine. We have a 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. 0. Explosion! Menu. Right. A loud noise startled Junpei awake, and his eyes snapped open. Oh, what? Don't want you. I want to come to you. Click R. As they adjusted to the light, he realised that he didn't recognise his surroundings. With a crack, Junpei's head connected with something metal. He rolled over and threw out his hand to steady himself, but he found himself groping at empty air. His balance lost, and still fuzzy mind struggling to understand what was going on, Junpei tumbled down to the cold, grey floor. Junpei glared around the room, still trying to determine where he'd woken up. The fall had shaken the last coppers of sleep from his mind, and he finally understood where he'd fallen from. Bunk bed. Yep. 3-level bunk bed, in fact. Junpei had fallen, apparently, from the topmost bunk. Ow! No wonder he's in pain. His shoulders hurt, his knees hurt, his hip hurt, his entire body hurt. Don't blame him. You could feel the bump forming on his forehead, where he slammed against the low ceiling. He wondered if that bump was the reason he felt his vision wavering a bit, but that seemed unlikely. At first, he thought the tremor that ran through his legs was just another effect of his rude awakening. But as he looked around, he realised it was real. The whole room was shaking. Was it an earthquake, he wondered. It didn't seem likely. It was shaking far too quickly for an earthquake. Then again, Junpei had no idea what it was, if not an earthquake. He tried to tell himself it was important. Oh, yeah, the whole thing's shaking. Of course that's important. Junpei rubbed the growing bump on his head and gingerly climbed to his feet. His balance regained and finally took his first good look around the room. Ooh, looks alright, looks kind of nice. Wouldn't want to be him, but you know, you don't have much choice. And mutters to himself, apparently. Where am I? His pain momentarily forgotten in the face confusion of his circumstances, Junpei looked around the room once again. Minutes passed while Junpei struggled to get his bearings. Struggled. He really struggled. And then suddenly as they begun, the tremors ceased. A cold silence fell over the room. From somewhere far away, Junpei could hear the sound of metal squeaking. He felt his stomach tighten. There were 1,000 things that sound could have been, but none of the things he could think of were good. Well, no, of course not, it's not. I'd be scared if that was me. In an attempt to distract himself, Junpei looked around the room once more. There was a stove that looked like more antique than functional. 3-level bunk beds had mattresses that were so thin they were little more than blankets. On the other side of the room was an identical bed, and set in the wall between the beds was a slightly dirty iron door. The first thing Junpei noticed about the door was number roughly embolised across it. On the surface of the door in red paint, someone had written 5. 5? I don't know, don't ask me, Jesus. Suspicious and still utterly confused, Junpei approached the door slowly. Standing at last in front of the door, Junpei grabbed hold of the L-shaped handle. A push yielded no movement, and the pull the same result. In other words, the thing won't open. A few more tries cemented the truth in Junpei's mind. It wouldn't open. It didn't how much he pushed and shoved. The handle would not budge. Well, there's a... It kind of looked like a switch. That's what I think. I can't think. Next to the door was an odd-looking device that reminded Junpei of a card reader. It didn't take a genius to figure out that the odd-looking device was keeping the door shut. Yeah, well, come on. I'm not a genius, so that must have been obvious. Junpei knocked hard on the door. Jesus Christ, that's hard enough. Woo! Opening the switches were there. Why is he banging? The switches were there. There was no response. Junpei threw his left fist into the door. Ow! He wasn't really sure what else to say. On his left wrist was a bracelet of the... Can't speak. On his left wrist was a bracelet of a sort he'd never seen before. In the centre was a large LCD display. It looked like nothing else so much as a watch, but it clearly wasn't that. After all, it showed only a single number. 5. That's the same as the door. Well yeah. Yeah, basically. The numbers were the same, but he had no idea what that might mean. All he knew was that it was strange, new, and he wanted it off. Junpei flipped his hand over as to remove the watch, but the other side of the bracelet was solid. No buckle, no clasp, nothing. He sighed and flipped the thing back over. There was a number of rivets around the rim of the face, perhaps. Perhaps what? He pushed them, but nothing happened. On a watch, they might be dialed for adjusting date or time, but on this bracelet they did nothing. Junpei was at a loss. What was he going to do? Growing more desperate, he began to tug at it. However, I'm guessing it won't come off. Yeah, I'm right. Ha! A seal rang from the face around Junpei's wrist and back into the face. He wouldn't be pulling the bracelet off any time near the future. Frustration and desperation were beginning to rise as the reality of the situation began to fully dawn on Junpei. So much was happening and none of it made sense. Junpei felt as though he was about to explode. Oh god, don't explode, that'd be quite messy. Please don't explode. Oh. What was that? It was at that moment he noticed the window. The window was round, rimmed in riveted glass, like a window from an early 20th century ship. Junpei walked slowly towards the window. He could see nothing beyond it, but thick, impenetrable darkness. Junpei squinted and tried to see something, anything, but it was at that moment. Oh, it was cracking! Oh! It's cracking. Why is it cracking? Oh, it broke. The crack split the glass of the window, and for a moment Junpei stared at it. And then the window burst and water began to pour into the room. What the hell? What was Thomas thinking? His feet stepped on the water already coming through the window as he ran for the door. There was no reply. As Junpei screamed and pounded on the door, the water began to rise. It was now ankle deep on the floor and rising quickly towards his knees. Things were not looking good for Junpei, not good at all. He needed to find a way out, and quickly. Well, yeah, I was going to kind of drown. Junpei ran a hand across his forehead, brushing the sweat out of his eyes, and looked around the room. For like the third time. Oh. seek a way out.